Welcome to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams. And tonight, the Hills had a tough one. And we have one of the Hoosiers greats that's going to be with me tonight to help talk about their win. We have one of the greatest guards to ever play at the University of Indiana. We have the A.J. Guyton with us. Welcome, A.J. How are you?
I'm good, man, and thanks for having me on the Carolina Conversations, man. We know how legendary the program is, how legendary the game was tonight. I was hyped. I was sitting there with my IU stuff on, ready to I was really intrigued, though. I was really just wanted to watch and see what type of game we was going to have, and it went probably exactly as I kind of expected. You know, man,
Yeah.
how did you feel? Did it go exactly as you expected, or did you get a chance to watch the whole thing? Because I know you was competing tonight, too.
Yeah, well, I did. I had an opportunity to watch the whole thing, and I thought that there were times where North Carolina, I thought we would buckle down a little bit, and get back in the game. Once you guys got ahead of us, anywhere from that 8 to 12 point range, it seemed like every time we tried to make a run, you guys did an absolutely great job of withstanding the run and continue to be aggressive and capitalize possession wise. Like we talked about yesterday in the House of Hoosiers with your podcast, the one thing that I felt like North Carolina needed to do was, play like everything was on the line.
Right.
And there were some spurts within the game where, you could see it. You could say, hey, you know what? Hey, these guys are competing the way that they need to compete. And that doesn't mean that you're not competing. It just means that you have to do it a certain way that allows you to be elite. You know what I mean? And so, that I think that's where the growth is needed. What do you think about the way that you guys played?
Yeah, I thought Indiana played well. They showed who they are defensively, man. They're a great half-court defensive team, man. They guard their yard. They don't give up drives to the lane. They close out well, force you to take contested shots. And they try to get, the one thing I didn't think Carolina did as I'm watching the team is they don't get anything in transition off of their defense. They don't get stops and runs. And maybe that was because of Indiana's defense, but they did a good job of not giving Carolina any transition points. And, offensively, that's the Indiana that we've come accustomed to the last 2 years under Woodson is, throw the ball in the trace, play off a trace, run pick and roll. What Carolina was giving up was the drop coverage in the pick and roll. And Indiana was able to finish the game off by hitting floater after floater, mid-range shots, knocking them in or throwing it into trace and him going to work. So I think Indiana played exactly how they wanted to play. I think they caught a Carolina team that's really, really trying to figure out who they are this year, not last year.
Right.
I think, they forced Carolina to play all half-court basketball. And if you're a home team, that plays right into your game plan. You don't get any easy points. You don't get any transition points. You playing pick and roll, shoot step back threes, and that's what you want. If that's your scout, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
If you see the ladies out there shooting step back threes against your defense, you putting your hands in there like, yes.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to figure that part out, man. So the game kind of, I think it was intense. To your point yesterday, you made a great point yesterday when we talked about, Carolina offensively. You said, well, that's how they won it. That's how they got to the championship last year. And I watched for that this game, and I was like, you know what, Shammond was 100% right. But you have to reestablish a new identity, man. And I thought that, those are the type of shots Indiana forced them into, and they willingly took them. And I think what they only score is 56 points or something like that, 60 points. I think it was a 10-point game. And so that's what you want if you're the home team. So I thought it was a great game plan by Indiana, and they executed it.
Yeah. Indiana, there was a part there in, I think right before halftime where they got real aggressive
Yeah.
defensively, and they were able to turn Carolina over
Yep.
multiple possessions in a row
Yep.
and to get out on breaks and score themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the gap, they pushed that gap.
Yep.
And at that point in time, I wished, I would have saw Carolina be a little bit more physical, a
Right.
little bit more gritty
Yeah.
to, like to withstand that aggressiveness
Mhm.
and be aggressive as well offensively. Then when I say be aggressive, but be aggressive and physical
Yep.
to, not allow people to physically push you in places
Yeah.
and get their hands on your ball
Right.
and kind of in some regard it could look intimidating, but that's the basketball that you want to play against.
Absolutely. I was gonna say
You
that.
know, yeah, that's what that's what you live for. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this. But
Mhm.
I thought Indiana did a great job in that. And there was a point in time where Carolina went to their go-to thing, which was the ball screen.
Yep.
And unfortunately tonight there were a few empty possessions, especially right there when you were able to cut it to 8 and so on and so forth. I think we cut it to 8. We got a
Yep.
turnover. Cut it in. You guys missed and came back the next possession and
Mhm.
didn't really get a solid shot. I think like you said before, we had to take one of those shots that Indiana would force you into.
Right.
But I also saw something good tonight, as I alluded to yesterday.
Mhm.
Pete Nance
Oh yeah.
for a few minutes there in that first half, it was the Pete Nance show,
Yep.
and he was getting high percentage quality shots. He was getting
Yep.
whatever he wanted,
Mhm.
and I thought then I said, hey, you know what? Carolina's found something
Yep.
here. I think he scored 3 times and then got fouled on something, and I think he got a little exhausted,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my opinion, because he wasn't used to having to tote the mail. He
Yep.
usually,
Exactly.
especially this season. And so hopefully for Carolina, they understand that he's a viable option
Yep.
offensively that can help you. He also made some great entry passes in the second half to Armando Baycott,
Mhm.
to get him the basketball when he was in position and had seals.
Right.
So there's some positive things that we can take away from this game, but the most important thing that I think that we can take from it is, here it is, another top 15 team.
Mhm.
I think you guys are 11th in the country,
Yep. Yep.
and look how hard they played each and every possession. If you
Right.
listen to the commentators, that's all they began. They just applauded the way Woodson had those guys playing
Right.
hard
Yeah.
each and every possession, like it was their last. And that's something that not only North Carolina has to work on, but probably a lot of other teams in America that have to work on that as well.
Yeah, I would say,
Um,
and back to your point about Pete Nance, I think what changed the game for him was when Baycott got in foul trouble or got injured and he had to switch off, and then he had to use all his energy to guard Trace Jackson Davis.
that's
And
right.
you can see he's not strong enough to withstand that. And if the rest of his shots for the rest of the game were all short.
Short.
Every
Hmm.
every every shot he took. The good thing for Carolina is they didn't let the game get too far out of hand. So you can see the potential and why they are a top 10 team earlier in the year. They never let the lead stretch. I think they were only down 6 at half. So they had a great opportunity to come out in the second half, but they really
Hmm.
laid an egg in the first. We always talk about that first TV timeout. These next four,
Right.
we gotta make our run, and it did exactly the opposite. Indiana made another run, and that's
Right.
what kind of kept it right there. But I did see, the toughness and the leadership to stay within striking distance. But
Right.
that's when Indiana went to the pick and roll game, and Galloway hit 2 floaters, and Xavier Johnson hit a couple floaters.
Blows.
They got Indiana to miss, and then they didn't get the defensive rebound, and so they had to guard again, and Indiana scores again. So
Yeah.
it was a clash, and it was a tense game. But like you talked about, I think Carolina's gonna have to find. I think Love needs to attack the basket a lot more than he does, and try to get fouled, try to get to the free throw line a little more, try to create for others. You know what I mean? But I thought you made another point yesterday when we talked about Baycott, and I was like, well, he's not getting the ball enough. You said he's not getting the ball enough, or he's not being assertive.
Right.
And you were 100% correct. He's just not being assertive because the three moves he made were easy and he got to the rim extremely easy. He just doesn't do it enough. So I think Indiana has the privilege of going to Trace Jackson Davis. I think Baycott is more skilled than Trace Jackson, but Trace is definitely more aggressive, and he's going to get to his right shoulder, and he's going to make it happen. Then he's going to get that second jump is the best in the country, so this causes problems for front lines. And I think you can always learn from a loss, and I think Baycott can learn that, hey man, I need to establish myself like that if we go thing to the next level, and these guys are going to have to follow me. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think Trace activity.
Yeah,
when you look at his activity, it stands out. When he's posted and when he catches the basketball, it's active. You know what I mean? It's just not. He's not only just using his physical strength. He's using agility as well.
Right.
Like he made one move, he caught it, spun. I mean, he spun and he was gone. Then he was at the basket, and like you said, his second jump. I mean, he missed the jump hook, but then he was right back up and he caught it and dunked it back. And so when you look at his activity, his agility stands out at that size, where not only, like he plays drop coverage sometimes, and maybe a lot of times he plays drop coverage, but he's quick enough to be able to get himself in position to not only alter shots, he can block shots. I mean, he can actually get his hand on the ball and block it and start a break in transition. So he's going to be difficult for a lot of people. And the young man that y'all brought in off the bench, I think he wore number 5.
Malik Renew.
Yeah, he did some good things this evening too when he got his opportunity. Sealing, getting to his left shoulder, making a drop step, and finishing. They at one time it seems as if they were trying to pick on our interior as well, but I mean, my hat goes off to the program, Indiana's program. I mean, you guys did a great job of executing, your game plan. Like I said before yesterday, that, you guys were going to play hard. I mean, that's just your identity. Yeah. And anytime you do that, it's going to give you a chance to win basketball games. Yeah. For us, like I said, there were some good things that we can pull away from this, good and bad, that can help us, further down the line. Guys were able to come in and get some minutes. More bench players were able to come in this evening and get some more minutes, and contribute in their own way. And hopefully they begin to get the confidence. So these guys don't have to play so many minutes, and hopefully that'll keep them, fresh and able to play at a high level, for the minutes that they're asked to play.
Right. I think Carolina was right there. I mean, going into a hostile environment, your goal is to stay within the game, stay within striking distance, and then your toughness, your competitiveness is going to take over and help you get over that hump. That's not what happened today as far as them getting over the hump, but they were there. So that's if I'm Hubert, I'm walking away from that game. Another point is they were I think they were exhausted. I think Karen, I think most of it was because of Indiana's pressure and intensity and the intensity of the moment. But when you flying across the country, you playing 4 overtime games, you going back to the crib, you coming back. That's they're from the league. That's a league. Right. So, and when I looked at them, that's why I didn't think we saw the fire, like the energy that Indiana had. And
Right.
I was like, Baycott starting to get even more banged up with the shoulder injury. Guys just everybody's short on all the long distance shots that they're taking. So as a coach and an athlete, I'm looking at them like, oh, they wore them out. And
Right.
but Carolina was good enough to stay. So there's a lot of positives to take. If I'm Carolina, I'm Hubert Davis. All I'm asking for is a little bit more from everybody, and
Right.
I'm asking for better shot selection for the most part from everybody. Caleb Love's going to be able to take 3 or 4 tough shots a game. So is R.J. Davis. But I'm asking them to get me more quality shots, work together to get each other quality shots.
Yeah.
If you have to play half court basketball all the time, my scout wins. I'm
Right.
winning. I want to get that ball out there. And when I coach the game, I'm like, hey man, our defense is our offense. Let's get this
Right.
thing on the board. I remember Shammond Williams pushing that thing up, throwing lobs to Twan, throwing lobs to Vince, throwing lobs to who. I mean, that's Carolina basketball. Not hold up, twist fist. No, trying to. So I think they could take that away from Indiana as well as them getting the ball off the board, pushing it, making stuff
Yeah.
happen, then run your offense if you don't
Yeah.
have anything. So I would love to see this matchup even earlier in the year when both teams were kind of fresh. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
fine, but this is I think we don't. Do you think this is a crucial moment for Carolina basketball?
I don't think it's a crucial moment. I think that you have to find a way to win
Yep.
basketball games,
Right.
and it's not just winning basketball games; it's how you win them.
Right.
It's the the things that you do on the floor for 40 minutes. I
Yep.
mean, because you can win. Like I used to say this to my colleagues. I said, you know, we won, but we really lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you can get a win, but there can be a loss also with that win.
Hey,
And sometimes when you lose,
yeah,
you
yeah,
win.
yeah. The old
You
white
know
man
what I
can't jump, right?
mean? Yeah. So so um, you know, with any game that you win, you want to do it in a fashion that shows growth
Right.
and shows that you can you can put this performance on each and every time you step on the floor.
Right. Mhm.
Um, and and sometimes, like I said before, you may not win games, but if you executed and you played hard and you left everything on the floor, then you can walk away from those games being confident that, hey, you know what? Tonight they were just a better team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were just a better team tonight. We did everything that we could possibly do, and unfortunately, the ball didn't bounce our way this evening.
Mhm.
But like I said before, you want to, like every game has to be played as if it's the national championship game.
Right. Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's when you begin to get to that point for any team,
Right.
the Hoosiers or the Tar Heels,
Yep.
when you begin to play with that type of effort and focus and intensity, then it breeds winning at an elite level. And
Right.
so it's not a breaking point for us. Just like when we talked about yesterday, you said, Shimon, what do you think the problem is? And I said, hey, AJ, I don't think it's a problem.
Right.
It's just some things that, that individuals have to do within themselves.
Mhm.
I mean, because, coaches can give you the game plan. They can give you the X's and the O's and tell you what's going to happen. But eventually it's the student athlete that makes the choice to do those things, but also play with that intensity
Right.
and that effort and that focus. And like I said, we're the hunted now,
Yep.
no longer the hunter. You're the hunted, and so that makes things a little bit more difficult. But I'm optimistic for sure that we'll be better. We'll be
Mhm.
better. What are your thoughts about your team? I think after tonight's win, I think you guys would probably jump up between 6 and 8 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
What do you think about your team, the Hoosiers moving forward,
Yeah.
and their chances? winning the Big Ten and possibly being one of those Final Four teams.
If I'm Mike Woodson, I'm in a solid place. You know, I think we've established our identity. We know who we are. We know what we can hang our hats on to be in the guts of any game that we play. You know, we do have a stretch, and I don't know exactly the schedule, but I know we go to Arizona, which is going to be a huge test. So I'm looking to come out that game with a good performance as well, win or lose. I'm looking to really establish ourselves. So I want to continue to offensively, I want to continue to throw the ball in the post. I want to continue to work better and move better off of Trayce Jackson and give him more lanes and avenues to go to work and get the other teams big in foul trouble. We're still not a very willing 3-point shooting team. I don't think we didn't have to do it tonight, but I think that, and you know this better than I do, as those tournaments, especially those first 2 or 3 games of the NCAA tournament, they're very, very fast paced. You have to score points in order to win those basketball games because everybody is rolling in them first 2 or 3 rounds before those next rounds get a little bit more surgical. So I think Indiana, and we talked about this all last year, they need to really, really get to a point where they can make 12 or 13 threes on a night. You know what I mean? A night that Trayce Jackson Davis doesn't have it, the night that Race Thompson doesn't have it, or Malik Renew doesn't have it, Xavier Johnson, Jalen Hood, Shafino, he came out very aggressive tonight.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think he did a great job. And Huber made the adjustment. Leaky turned his water off just a little bit, slowed him down. But yeah, Leaky can't guard everybody. We got to be able to, shut down. But he came out very aggressive and took some of the load off of Trey. So they have a deep enough bench. And I honestly thought they were going to be Big Ten champions until I saw Purdue play, until I saw Michigan play, and I saw Illinois play. And I said, holy crap, it's going to be a dogfight to the end because all 3 of those teams, Iowa's in the mix. So it's going to be a dogfight. It really is going to come down to, continuity, execution, health is going to be a huge part of it to see because Purdue was looking magnificent up in the PK tournament. Illinois just, knocked Syracuse out last night. And, they're always tough under Brad and Underwood. So Indiana is right there. But I think in the end, when you go on the road in a specific building, and you saw that tonight, you got to have a backcourt that's going to take and make some tough shots. That's the way it is. It's going to come down to your individual ability to break people down, get people involved, create for yourself consistently and efficiently. And that's what I want to see from Indiana is Xavier Johnson, who tends to speed up a little bit. That's cool at home, but that ain't going to be cool on the road. So, who had, 13 in the first half. He finished with 3 in the second. You got to be consistent on the road. So that road record is going to determine where Indiana falls in that Big Ten race. They got the experience. They have to be one of the oldest teams in the Big Ten. Trace and Race are seniors. XJ is a 5th-year senior, and then they're carrying babies with them with Shafino. Miller Kopp, I'm sorry, he's a 5th. He didn't play a lot tonight because they were trying to cut him, but he's a 5th year. So I like where they are. I'm loving where I am. If I'm Woody, I just need to, open his floor up a little bit more and give these guards room to drive and drop, kick out, and play a little bit more, drive and kick basketball. Get some shots, and then I'm happy with where they are right now. What about the Heels?
Well, I think tonight allowed us to, like I said before, see what Pete Nance could give us. He is a viable scoring option. Tonight we were able to, get more guys in the game. Puff Johnson had an opportunity to play some minutes there for us. DeMarco Dunn came in and played some minutes. So like I said before, we're going to have to develop our bench. There's no question about that. Hubert has said that, and Hubert understands that, because the more you can develop your bench to be efficient and can come in and give you some things, it allows those other guys to be able to rest. They can't be Iron Man all the time. And so, development for us is going to be important. Seth Trimble came in and played some minutes, and and was able to do some things. I think that, you know, those guys will have to play an important part for us to be as successful as we need to be and
Right.
want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, Hubert understands that, and
Mm-hmm.
and as you see, he's developing that and working toward that. So it's going to be good for us. You just have to take these licks now, and they got to make you, make you feel a certain way. It's either
Right.
going to make you or you break you.
Yep.
And from what I know of those young men, they're resilient.
Yeah.
Even last year, I mean, even we made the Final Four, but I think we were 8th seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this group has shown that they can play through adversity, and when you're not thinking that they're going to be impactful, they're able to put some things together to allow themselves to be successful. So I'm very optimistic in where they're going, and hopefully this stings and it puts a sour taste in your mouth.
Right.
But you don't have to have that taste forever. It's important just what you do with it, and the way it makes you feel, and being able to counteract that.
Right.
Counteract that.
Well, Indiana
Yeah.
work. They open up next with Rutgers. They go to Rutgers. They're home against Nebraska, and then they go to Arizona. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about this next three because you're opening. The Big Ten has done early Big Ten games over the last few years. So this is those two Big Ten games. So though Rutgers is not an easy place to play. I think Rutgers is coming to Indiana. I'm sorry, and Indiana's going to Nebraska. And then Indiana's going to Arizona. Sorry. So it's the next stretch is going to be the next stretch. Like you talked about earlier,
Right.
you made a kind of a solid point. Like this thing is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not important.
That's right.
It's not important to be at your best right now. And I feel for the teams that are at their best right now. I feel for you because it's a long way down from there. It's
Yes.
just too far to go. You know what I'm saying?
No
Um,
question. It's
I'm
a long season.
I'm ecstatic about getting to watch Indiana play at Arizona, watching that team and the arrogance, confidence, cockiness that I love to see that they play with, and
Right.
handle that in the atmosphere on the Pacific Coast time. So,
Yeah.
you should be smiling, go enjoy the good win. I love to see, and Carolina's always been great at this. We haven't been so great, but we've been better with Woodson coming back. Love to see all the alumni come back and enjoy it and have that camaraderie. Because once you get around those alumni, you ain't even really watching the game. You over there high five, eating all the food. Watch a little bit of game. And, did they win? Yeah, they won. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see guys like Ted Kitchell and Randy Whitman played with Isaiah Thomas and Scott May. A lot of those legends were there supporting Woodson and that crew, which was not something that was and these are the type of games we need. We don't need the North Carolina versus Binghamtons too much. We need to make this a home and home thing.
Yes.
Because he made a great point on the thing on TV that Indiana hasn't been to Chapel Hill out of the 4 times that they played the last 10 years. It's always been Indiana in the challenge. So that ain't fair. That should have been split up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Indiana need to go feel that heat over there too. You know what I mean? So I know this is the last year of the Big Ten ACC challenge, but like you talked about yesterday, I would love to see the Indiana-Kentucky series, the Indiana-North Carolina, just a series of blue bloods, man. Y'all rotate and play each other year in and year out, every year at each other's school so that we can enjoy it on campus. Forget the neutral site junk so somebody else can benefit, have it on campus so people can come back and to enjoy it, man. So have you had a chance to check out and see what the North Carolina schedules has coming up next?
Yeah, we actually play a ACC game on Sunday.
Okay.
We're in Blacksburg against a real physical Virginia Tech team. Every year, they're tough in Blacksburg. Mike Young has done a good job in coaching these guys, and what I think Mike won the ACC championship last summer, last year, the ACC tournament. So the tournament team, They're physical. They execute.
Mhm.
It's going to be a difficult game.
Right.
North Carolina's coming to town, and
Yep.
so it's going to be you know what I mean. It's going to be standing room only,
Absolutely.
and North Carolina will have to be at their best. It's going to be an environment similar to tonight,
Mhm.
um, where they may not have the individual talent as Indiana.
Mhm.
They really work well as a team. Those guys are seasoned.
Mhm.
They've exceeded expectations,
Yeah.
and they're the reigning ACC champions.
Let's get it.
You know what I mean? So hey,
Yeah.
don't there's no rest for the weary.
Yeah.
You have to go play Indiana on the road. Then you
Mhm.
got to lick your wounds and
Yep.
patch them up, get your mind, get your body, and get everything focused to go back on the road to go and get a win in the ACC. Because hey, this is an ACC game, and
Absolutely.
so this is going to have significant implications, especially when you start looking at the end of the season and placement and have an opportunity to be regular season champions and all the above. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, hopefully the guys will be focused, which I think they will be, and be willing and able to put that effort in come Sunday night.
Absolutely, man. Both two important conference openers for both teams, man. And like you said, this is important to have implications on where you'll land as the season gets going. So I hope both of these teams have to really quickly hit the reset button and throw these games away. Take what they can from them, take the positives, take the negatives, work on those negatives, and turn them into positives, and look to continue this marathon, man. I'm just ecstatic to be a part of the show and an opportunity to chop it up with the legend
Yeah.
about
Oh man.
this
No.
up close with Carolina basketball, because
Yeah.
when Carolina's good, Kentucky's good, when Indiana's good, basketball is just in heaven, man.
That's right.
There's no other way around it, man. I might throw a Duke in there too when they're good. When all
Yeah.
four of those teams are good.
No question.
It's revenue time for the NCAA.
No question, man. But
Yeah.
yeah. But I want to thank you, AJ, for taking the time to be on a Carolina conversation. I mean, it's always great to have one of the great legends yourself from Indiana. And when people have time from the Carolina conversation, check out his House of Hoosiers. AJ does a great job. Talking about the Indiana basketball program, and he has a lot of other legends. Um, they aren't like him because there's very few that were able to do the things that he did while he was there. But he has some great guys there with some great topics. And once again, man, we just want to thank you for being a part of the Carolina conversation this evening. And congratulations to you and your Indiana Hoosiers on a great basketball win this evening.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me, man, and appreciate you, man. I always wanted to compete against you, but it's also nice working with you, brother,
No
man.
question.
Keep doing your thing, man. And House of Hoosier podcast, catch it on Spotify. You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on Apple. Just click on the icon, type in House of Hoosier, and we got plenty of content there for you to check out, man, including a dope interview that I did with Shammond last night. So go check that one out too. See how right he was about today.
AJ, thank you, man. God permitting, man. We'll catch up later on in the season. Maybe Final Four, man. We got to get Rob and then
Let's do it,
fly
man.
us out to the Final Four or something.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, you hear that, Rob?
No question. Have a great evening. Congratulations again.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right.